It must be Su-Haid. While in Chinatown, he carefully inquired about Su-Haid's appearance. The person across the street perfectly matches all the physical characteristics. Su Yuanhang was overjoyed and was about to run over when he suddenly stopped. Two more people got off the carriage. Those few Japanese people. Su Yuanhang gritted his teeth and clenched his fists, his whole body trembling with anger. He never expected that the other party would find Su-Haid before him. The sight of the group chatting and laughing only fueled his anger. Why? Aren't you a federal representative? How could I have gotten so close to these robbers and beasts? Su Yuanhang suppressed his inner impulse and retreated back into the dark alley, silently waiting for the other party's move. Now that I've seen them for a few days, it's a good time to settle things once and for all. You went to Silverwing City? Fang Hao asked, somewhat surprised. After listening to Ma Tianyi's story, he also asked Bai Xian about Su Yuanhang's situation. If he really comes to Lysa's city to find me, I can arrange for him to develop in an empty city. As for avenging him, we need to reconsider. The tragedy of transmigrators happens every day. This isn't something you can just help with if you want to. He is now the Lord and is responsible for everyone in the territory. A pushover will only drag himself down and put the entire territory in danger. But when I asked that question, I heard that the other person had gone to Silverwing City again. He already had a big reputation as a pretty boy in Lysa's city. So why was he going to Silverwing City again? He had some doubts in his mind. Were there still people in Silverwing City willing to help him? Yes. Bai Xian said he went to Silverwing City to find the Federation Council to tell the council about this and ask them to help him get revenge. Ma Tianyi continued to explain. That's true. Going to the parliament is like going to the government. But the Federation Council is like a royal palace. Without an introduction, you can't even get in. How is it now? Is anyone in charge? Fang Hao continued to ask. Ma Tianyi looked at the city lord's book, then shook her head and said, the person is missing. We can't contact them. Oh, in this place. Even if you die, there's nowhere to go. Boss, this message from Bai Xian is for you. Ma Tianyi handed over the city lord's book. Fang Hao took it and looked at the contents. Brother Fang Hao, Su Yuanhang just graduated from university. He is straightforward and stubborn. In the alliance, he always mentions your name and takes you as his role model. If you can find him, I hope you can help look after him and prevent him from doing anything foolish. Fang Hao's brows remained furrowed as he read the other person's words. Whether he takes her as a role model is hard to say, but it's clear that Bai Xian is quite worried about this person. After they came out, they disappeared without a trace. It really does make people think the worst. Fang Hao thought for a moment and then said, tell her I'll have the people over there keep an eye on things, but I can't guarantee what the outcome will be. Ma Tianyi nodded in response. Bai Xian said thank you. The Alliance will not forget this kindness. No need. We're all from the same hometown when we're away from home, Fang Hao said. Okay, I've sent it. I'm no longer paying attention to Ma Tianyi and Bai Xian's chat. Fang Hao also took out the Lord's book and sent a message to Li Rong. Tell her to keep an eye on Su Yuanhang, who filed a complaint with the Emperor. He's going to Silverwing City, so he'll definitely be going to Chinatown. He also has difficulty accessing other places. As long as the person is still alive, it shouldn't be hard to find them. Li Rong also sent an okay message. It indicates that you understand. As night fell, the streets gradually returned to calm. The shops closed, and some pedestrians on the street hurried back to their homes. Tonight, Longtianjian was unusually lively. The first and second floors were booked by Li Rong of the Mage Association to host guests from the city, as well as transmigrators. The place was packed with guests, and the atmosphere was lively. The largest private room upstairs was booked by Church Saint Su-Haid, similarly entertaining distinguished guests. Standing by the window, Sure Hemming looked down at the bustling scene below and asked with a smile, Mr. Su-Haid, who is that woman? How did she manage to gather so many transmigrators? Even if Su-Haid was elected by Parliament as a transmigrator's representative. But no matter how you look at it, the woman below has a higher reputation. All the transmigrators gathered around. Su-Haid narrowed his eyes slightly, glanced at it casually, and said, it's from the Mage Association. They opened a shop in the city today, and they're having a grand opening and receiving gifts. He was in a pretty good mood today. The morning blue coral, when presented to the Archbishop, indeed received praise. It's not that the Archbishop lacks this thing, but rather that Su-Haid showed thoughtfulness. But upon arriving at the restaurant and seeing Li Rong's immense prestige, it's likely that half of Chinatown has come. My good mood vanished instantly. Upon hearing that it was just a business dinner, Shi Heming stopped paying attention. In this world, Instead of focusing on developing their own strength, they actually have the mind to open shops and hold parties. A woman is a woman. Sitting back down at the table, Sure Hemming raised his glass and said, "Haha, never mind them. Mr. Suhaid, I'd like to toast you. I hope we can cooperate more in the future. The resources at sea are incredibly abundant." "Haha, good." Suhaid laughed and tilted his head back to drink. The two drank and chatted, and soon became somewhat tipsy. Suhaid was delighted, so he summoned the women who worked at the restaurant to keep him company while he drank and chatted. Laughter filled the room. On the second floor, a figure was eating, glancing occasionally towards the private room on the third floor. After seeing the Japanese, Su Yuanhang did not leave. They followed him all the way to this restaurant. It was also discovered that some transmigrators had opened a shop and were hosting banquets for the other transmigrators there. He changed his clothes and scurried in. It can also fill your stomach. The third floor private room is guarded by many church temple guards, so it's obviously unlikely that you could just rush in. Therefore, he needs to wait for the right opportunity. He was able to ensure that those beasts were killed, even if he himself couldn't escape this place. I heard voices urging for food to be served coming from the third floor. Su Yuanhang got up, led 3 militiamen, went into the back, and changed into waiter's clothes. "Sisterly, this Su Yuanhang has indeed been seen in Chinatown these past few days," a beer-bellied man said to Li Rong, sitting across from her. "So easy to find." Did a casual question lead to a clue? "Where is that person?" Li Rong asked. The beer-bellied man recalled for a moment and said, "I heard he went to find Suhaid to avenge his men." Suhaid. Li Rong glanced at the third floor subconsciously. She also knew who Suhaid was hosting a banquet on the third floor. Temple Knight was stationed at the entrance, as if afraid of dying a second time. Yes, he said his territory was in the coastal area, and he was killed by the sea tribes and Japanese. He came to find boss Fang Hao, but couldn't find him. Then he heard that Suhaid had become the representative of transmigrators, so he went to find Suhaid. I don't know if he found him or not. The beer-bellied man continued. Damn, can Suhaid compare to Fang Hao? Li Rong cursed subconsciously. The man looked at Li Rong with a puzzled expression, then echoed, "She's definitely far inferior to Fang Hao." "All right, I understand. Please pass on the message. If you see Su Yuanhang again, tell him to come to Xianming Tower to find me. I'll help him figure something out." Li Rong continued. "Since Suhaid is here, it means that Su Yuanhang has not found him. I'll just have him come to me in the next couple of days. He can also complete the tasks assigned by Fang Hao." "Understood. As long as he goes to Chinatown, I will personally deliver it to you." "Well done." Inside the private room on the third floor, Sure Hemming and his group were surrounded by a group of women draped in thin veils. I kept drinking glass after glass of alcohol. It really felt like the human race was the best. In the territory of the sea tribes, not only is the status of humans low, but even if the sea tribe women wanted to vent their frustrations, they couldn't find a place to do so. Squeak. Just then, the door opened, and a waiter came in carrying drinks. Belch. Sure Ming burped and casually pointed. "Just put it there." But the waiter seemed not to hear. He continued to push forward, still holding the wine bottle. Sure Ming was taken aback by the other party's behavior and looked up, but his brow furrowed. The person's face looked somewhat familiar, and his eyes, which were staring at him, were bloodshot. It was filled with anger and hatred. Sure Hemming's heart tightened. This was no ordinary waiter's gaze. It's more like a feud between someone who killed their father and someone who stole their wife. "Who are you?" Sure Ming roared. Su Yuanhang no longer concealed his intentions, pulled a short sword from his sleeve, and thrust it straight at Sure Ming. Sure Ming was shocked and, in a panic, pushed the woman in his arms toward the other man. This delay caused Sure Ming to scramble and crawl back to the back. They created distance between themselves. Nearby, several cries of pain rang out, and 3 men dressed as waiters drew their short swords and stabbed several of their companions. This commotion instantly sobered everyone up. Sure Ming recognized the other person instantly. "It's you. You beasts, I'm going to kill you." With that, he charged forward again, sword in hand. Sure Hemming ran around the dining table frantically, shouting, "Mr. Suhaid, help me." Suhaid was also startled, thinking they were there to kill him again. He almost jumped out of the window to escape. Now it seems they weren't targeting him, but rather were hunting down Sure Ming and his group. With the temple guards coming in to protect me, I felt much safer. Hearing the cries for help, I knew it was time to pretend. He straightened his chest and said directly, "Take down these assassins." The temple guards charged towards the group. In an instant, they subdued several disguised militiamen. At the same time, Su Yuanhang, who lunged at Shi Himing, was kicked in the abdomen by Temple Knight. The immense force sent him flying out of the room. It tumbled down the stairs, stumbling and tumbling. It rolled into the hall on the first floor. In an instant, the bustling hall fell silent, and all eyes turned to the rather disheveled figure on the ground. Su Haid, leading Shi Himing and others, slowly walked out of the private room, glanced at the crowd below, and said, "This person committed murder in the private room. Take him down." The temple guards immediately descended the stairs, heading straight for the badly injured Su Yuanhang. At the same time, the beer-bellied man moved closer and whispered, "Sisterly, Su Yuanhang." "What?" Li Rong turned around. "He is Su Yuanhang." Li Rong's eyes widened as she looked down again in disbelief. "Su Yuanhang, didn't you come here to ask Su Haid for help? Why did they even attempt to assassinate Su Haid? Wow, we're kindred spirits." Bang! Just when Su Yuanhang thought he was going to be arrested and then disposed of without explanation, a loud roar suddenly rang out. Everyone looked over and saw that Li Rong had once again conjured a fire spell in his hand. "Don't touch him, or I'll blow your head off with my next fireball." Li Rong's intervention caused the descending temple guards to remain frozen in place. This place isn't just home to church temple guards. There are also many guards from the Mage Association assigned to protect Li Rong. If the two sides really fight, it's hard to say who will have the upper hand. "Li Rong, are you protecting him? Did you order him to assassinate me?" Su Haid roared angrily when he saw Li Rong intervene. He had suspected Li Rong of killing him before. Now that they're protecting this person, my first thought is of this side. Protecting him, my ass. You think he assassinated you just because you say so? Besides, I didn't see him assassinate you. I only saw me hosting a banquet here while you were beating people up. Li Rong's aura was in no way weak. Stop talking nonsense. I was entertaining guests in the private room when these guys disguised themselves and came in, attempting to kill me. I had the guards take them down to prevent the situation from escalating. Are you going to make a fuss about that too? Su Haid said coldly. The church's guards and the Mage Association's protectors are positioned at opposite ends. The atmosphere was tense, like swords were about to be drawn. Meanwhile, the assassin who had rolled down the stairs in the middle also staggered to his feet. Despite being covered in injuries, he seemed capable of holding on for a while longer. Soon, someone in the crowd recognized Su Yuanhang, since he had been going to Chinatown these past few days and had left an impression on many people. They began to discuss it in hushed tones. "Su Yuanhang, didn't you say you were going to ask Su Haid for help? How did you turn into an assassin?" "Yes, I heard he's in a pretty bad situation, coming all the way to ask the parliament for help." "What's going on? Coming to Silverwing City to assassinate a saint? What kind of grudge is this?" Discussions and murmurs filled the hall. The transmigrators wondered in hushed tones why things had turned out this way. Su Yuanhang staggered to his feet, a surge of anger and sorrow rising in his heart. He had wanted to ask Su Haid for help, but he hadn't expected that these people had already colluded together. His assassination attempt failed because Su Haid, acting as his guard, saved those beasts. Taking a deep breath, he said loudly, "Those people are Japanese. They robbed my ship at sea and locked me and dozens of my people on board to drown. I survived by sheer luck and came to Silverwing City to ask Su Haid for help, but I never expected them to be drinking and chatting here. Today, I, Su Yuanhang, admit defeat, but I will haunt you even as a ghost. And you, Su Haid, how dare you be a representative of transmigrators? You traitor." Wow. Upon hearing this, the transmigrators present erupted in commotion. No wonder. Su Yuanhang has been here for several days now, first looking for the parliament, and then looking for Su Haid. The assassination attempt has failed. It turns out that the people around Su Haid were the murderers he was looking for. Having just become a transmigrator's representative, he's already protecting outsiders who are bullying his own people. This is outrageous. Su Haid, what do you mean? You're acting all high and mighty as a representative, aren't you? Colluding with outsiders, aren't you? I thought you could achieve something great, Shah. Questions echoed through the hall. There were at least 40 or 50 people here, all pointing their spears at Su Haid, causing beads of sweat to appear on his forehead. He didn't even know such a thing happened. I can't out-argue so many people with just my own mouth. He could only frown and look at Shi Himing and the others behind him. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Shi Heming's heart leaped into his throat. He never expected that Su Yuanhang would survive. They even went to Silverwing City to block him. But at this point, he absolutely could not admit to it. Not to mention his own safety. He hasn't even finished negotiating with the Sea Clan and the Federation yet. He messed things up. When he gets back, even the sea creatures can kill him." He coughed lightly and said in broken Chinese, "This man is lying. His ship was just a pirate ship that was plundering nearby vessels. We happened to encounter it and sank it in the battle. Now you've actually chased us here and are saying we stole your things. It's ridiculous. You're the pirates," Su Yuanhang cursed. "We represent the Sea Clan to negotiate with the Federation, and we are traveling on Sea Clan ships. The Sea Clan can testify for us whether we robbed you or you are a pirate," Shi Himing said loudly, his imposing manner showing no weakness. The Japanese man beside him chimed in, "Avenging your men? Don't you know that it was your own actions that killed them?" Su Yuanhang panicked and spat out a mouthful of blood. His expression became even more listless. Hearing Shi Heming's words, Suhaid felt much more at ease. As long as there's a reason, that's fine. Even if there are conflicts between the people of the two countries, as long as the reasons are legitimate, it is easy to handle. Both sides have their own versions of events. But this person committed the crime in front of us. I'll take him back first, and we can get some results from the interrogation, Suhaid said. That statement is reasonable and well-founded. Unable to determine who was telling the truth, the person was taken away for investigation. But Li Rong still refused to back down, saying, "You can't take the person away. If you do, things will get complicated." "Li Rong, what do you mean? How long do you intend to keep this up here?" Suhaid said angrily. "What do I mean? Everyone knows how you teach people to do things. If you take someone away, do you think they can come back alive?" "Damn, Sister Li is so fierce. She's practically pointing her finger at the church and cursing it out. Yeah, that's really aggressive. Aren't they afraid of retaliation from the church? The Mage Association will probably protect her. If I had Sister Li's power, I would also criticize them. The church has always been domineering, and it really deserves to be scolded." Just as the situation between the two sides was deteriorating further, a flurry of footsteps sounded outside. The Hall of Justice, the guards rushed in and surrounded the entire area. Then, a commander wearing a robe with a green parrot perched on his shoulder strode in. "Commander on duty, Barker, what's going on? What nonsense are you two spouting here?" Barker scanned both sides and asked in a cold voice. Upon entering, one sees the church and the Mage Association locked in a tense standoff. "Commander Barker, this man attempted assassination at the restaurant. I tried to apprehend him, but Li Rong stopped me," Suhaid said. Li Rong also said, "Captain Barker, those people were sent by the Sea Clan, and the injured man accused them of robbing and killing fishermen at sea. He came to Silverwing City specifically to tell the council about this." Li Rong quickly recounted the events. Su Yuanhang knew that the people who came were likely government officials. He knelt down with a thud and cried out, "My lord, you must do justice for me. My ship was a merchant ship, and the nearby cities can testify to this. They looted the goods and drowned everyone alive, the youngest of whom was only 14 years old. Nonsense. They were a pirate ship, which we simply sunk. We urge this, sir, to uphold justice." Shi Himing also shouted. At this moment, a beer-bellied man in the crowd spoke up softly. "Doesn't the church have interrogation? Why not just ask them a few questions?" Upon hearing this, everyone looked at Suhaid. "The people in your church are all here. Go ahead and ask." Suhaid coughed lightly and said, "Interrogation requires a bishop or higher-ranking clergy member, and I'm afraid we can't get a bishop to come forward for such a trivial matter." "Damn, it requires someone of bishop rank or higher to use it. What a crappy skill. Besides, what's the use of having a representative like you? You can't do anything. All you know how to do is arrest people." "Interrogation? I think I still have a few magic scrolls left from last time." Li Rong took out several magic scrolls from her bag, one of which was the questionnaire scroll. Without waiting for anyone to speak, he then tore open the scroll, and a beam of light enveloped Shi Himing, who was about to turn and leave. Shi Himing knelt down devoutly, muttering incantations. Li Rong asked, "At sea, did you plunder any transmigrators' ships, and what did you do to them?" Shi Himing looked conflicted, but still managed to say, "There was looting. They stole their supplies, locked the crew in the cabins, and scuttled the bottom of the ship." "How many Federation ships have they plundered?" "I don't remember, maybe 3 or 4. Brush." Upon hearing this, Li Rong decisively ended the interrogation. Two seemingly ordinary sentences of conversation, yet they resonated throughout the restaurant. Everyone present was furious and wished they could tear these people apart. In the blink of an eye, Shi Himing snapped out of his devout worship and felt a chill run down his spine when he saw the hateful eyes around him and the pale faces of his companions. Did that questionnaire actually make me say something? He still wanted to try to argue his case. Then the Hall of Justice commander said, "Men, seize all these men and lock them up in jail to await the council's decision tomorrow. Anyone who resists will be killed. Catch the thief! Catch the thief!" The parrot echoed. Splash! The guards quickly moved forward and captured Shi Himing and his companions. Shi Heming's eyes were filled with terror, and he turned back to say, "Mr. Suhaid, save me, Mr. Suhaid. Suhaid no longer visits these people. He's in a tough spot today. I will definitely be implicated in this matter. Miss Li Rong, I also need to take this man and his men with me. But don't worry, I will guarantee their safety," Barker said, pointing to Su Yuanhang and the others. Li Rong also knew that this matter could not be stopped. He nodded and said, "Okay, I hope their injuries can be treated. Well, it's getting late, so you can end your banquet here." Barker continued, "Kindness." The guards of the Hall of Justice departed. Meanwhile, Su Yuanhang's hearty laughter echoed through the streets. Ha ha ha. The restaurant was completely silent. I've never seen anyone as crazy or as silly as Su Yuanhang, but it seems quite admirable. The banquet can't continue. Take some food home with you and go back, Li Rong said. Okay, Sisterly. Thank you, Sisterly. After expressing their gratitude, the group left. But no one paid any attention to Suhaid, who was standing to the side. The next day, Chinatown. Su Yuanhang's laughter echoed throughout the street as he was being dragged away. It was a feeling of relief and catharsis. Transmigrators always deliver messages very quickly. This morning, the hottest topic in Chinatown was Su Yuanhang's assassination attempt on the Japanese. From Su Yuanhang's disguised assassination attempt to Li Rong's subsequent rescue. That's quite a detailed explanation. However, many versions of the events in between have been circulated, making it impossible to distinguish the truth from the falsehood. But people still listen with great interest. It's fortunate that Li Rong was there. Otherwise, Su Yuanhang would have been killed by those Japanese devils and Suhaid. Pa, what a load of bull. Suhaid, you piece of trash. To put it another way, Suhaid's identity. Although people don't particularly like the church, they don't have any negative impressions of Suhaid. After all, he rarely appears in Chinatown. Even if someone becomes a representative of transmigrators, and some people don't quite agree with it, it's not a big deal, and no one opposes these things. Living your own life, well, is the most important thing. But what happened last night gave everyone a new perspective. You are distorting the truth and helping the Japanese to harm your own people. Who can tolerate you anymore? If he weren't a church saint, everyone would probably want to parade him through the streets and beat him up. Similarly, Su Yuanhang is also a memorable character in the story. Youthful spirit. He did what so many people wanted to do, but dared not. Disguised assassinations. These are scenarios that were previously only seen in novels. The story spread rapidly throughout the city. Everyone realized a problem. Is Suhaid's appointment as a transmigrator's representative a good thing or a bad thing for ordinary transmigrators like himself? What does it really represent? Within the regional channel, this Suhaid, he calls himself a representative. He's just a traitorous dog. I thought he would help transmigrators change their situation. Change my ass. He's just a dog elected by Parliament to watch over us. Our alliance leader was discussing this matter just 2 days ago, whether or not to join Suhaid's management. If the alliance joins, I will withdraw. Could there be another story behind this? Hidden story, my ass. That little Japanese soldier admitted it on the spot. What other hidden story could there be? Within the regional channel, the same barrage of criticism was heard. Forget about selling equipment and blueprints, dating and finding a partner. There's nothing left. All the comments were insults, and there was no one controlling the screen. The insults just kept getting worse. Main city. Fang Hao hung up his chat with Li Rong and glanced at the regional channel. Upon opening it, the screen was flooded with insults. Su Yuanhang was actually quite lucky. Fortunately, Li Rong was there and recognized him immediately. Otherwise, he might have been taken away by Suhaid. Once they're in the church, it won't be so easy to bring them out. The rest depends on how the federal government handles it. This should also be given special attention by Li Rong. He closed the Lord's book and sat up. Since the entire maid's team started training hard, he has become the one who gets up the latest. After washing up, he found Dimitrika and walked straight out of the city. Head to Hidden Arms Cave. As you enter Hidden Arms Cave via the stone steps, a dry and chilly atmosphere hits you. Several night stones were scattered inside the cave. It emits a faint glow. Inside Hidden Arms Cave, Rows upon rows of skeleton soldiers stand in place like terracotta warriors, neatly arranged, completely still. Fang Hao has deployed nearly 3 million troops within the main city. The main reason is for the safety of the main city. Anyone, regardless of who they are, is attacking the main city in various ways. Both can provide sufficient troop strength to cope with the situation. My lord, are you planning to rearrange your forces? Dimitrika asked softly. Hidden Arms Cave has undergone several adjustments. In the past, Dimitrika was in charge of these matters, and Fang Hao rarely came down personally. No, I acquired the ability of a dimensional gate yesterday. I need to set it up in Hidden Arms Cave. I'm just testing it out, Fang Hao explained. I got back quite late last night. They did not immediately test the newly acquired abilities. This time, I'm here to figure out what this dimensional gate is all about. Dimitrika fell silent, and Fang Hao opened the Lord's book to check the construction requirements for Dimensional Gate. Dimensional Gate. Fine stone bricks 150, metal parts 22, demon stone 6, mana essence 3. The materials are sufficient, but how should this thing be built? After touching the Dimensional Gate option, a phantom of light appears in front of you. A prompt will also be displayed. It can be placed at the entrance of buildings such as barracks and Hidden Arms Cave. Fang Hao moved the illusory light screen to the entrance of Hidden Arms Cave. The construction conditions have been met. After construction is confirmed, a square light curtain enveloped the doorway. Construction was swift. As the light faded, an opening appeared before us, identical to the original doorway but covered in intricate patterns. At the same time, a skill option called Dimensional Gate has appeared in Lord's book. Once the construction was complete, they quickly left Hidden Arms Cave. We arrived at a location that was quite far away. Released Dimensional Gate directly. The next second, a huge light screen appeared conspicuously. Behind the light screen, the Hidden Arms Cave could be seen, along with skeleton soldiers standing inside. As he released it, he also felt his magic power being rapidly depleted as the Dimensional Gate continued to open. Come out. Fang Hao pointed at the foremost undead within the light screen. The skeleton shook its body and stepped out of the light barrier, arriving in front of Fang Hao. Holy crap, so convenient. So that's how it's played. Fang Hao was overjoyed. From now on, in any battle, there will be no need to convert the city first and then recruit troops. Just open the light screen and a large number of soldiers will appear. Go back. The skeleton followed the light curtain back. The 5 of you come out together. Fang Hao pointed to 5 more. 5 skeletons stepped out of the light curtain once again. Ma Tianyi's territory, the city lord's mansion, which had been completely emptied before. By this time, it had been almost fully recovered. Inside the hall, a group of dozens of people gathered, all looking at Ma Tianyi at the top with puzzled expressions. Alliance leader, is Fang Hao really that ruthless? He conquered the demons in just one night. Could it be that Fang Hao, like the second-place winner, is also a member of the dragon race? Yes. What's it like inside the demon camp? Ma Tianyi listened, unsure how to explain. In Dust Mud Valley, amidst such thick dust, only the city wall could be vaguely seen. As for what's inside the demon camp, brother, I didn't even go in. And it's so dangerous, a battle between the undead and demons. If I don't pee, it already proves that I'm healthy. Why would I want to see what's inside? Are you kidding me? Hearing everyone's questions, Ma Tianyi smiled and pressed her hand down. After things quieted down, he continued. Fang Hao's strength is far more terrifying than you can imagine. That foreigner from the dragon clan is no match for Fang Hao. Really? It's even more powerful than the dragons. Even more ferocious than dragons. What kind of unit is that? I know gods. Aren't they saying there are gods? All right, stop guessing. I called everyone here because I have something important to say. Listen to me. Ma Tianyi raised her voice again to quiet everyone down. After everyone remained silent. Then he continued. The important thing is that because of this demon incident, my city has become a subordinate city of Boss Fang Hao. I am considering disbanding the Shanghai Alliance and having all of them join Boss Fang Hao's territory. Wow, the silence had barely subsided when everyone erupted again. Some even found it hard to believe that Ma Tianyi would make this decision. He values this alliance more than anyone else. After all, he was the one who developed it step by step. Is it really okay to disband now? Listen to me, everyone. The development of the alliance has been limited by the region, and this time, you have all seen Fang Hao's power. He can take on our alliance by himself, right? Looking down, he thought, I want to take advantage of this opportunity to cling tightly to this powerful force and officially stand on equal footing with the local natives, or even surpass them. Now that you mention it, hey, it seems like I made the right choice. Fang Hao alone can destroy the demon. Then beating an entire league like them would be no problem at all. Rather than sticking to this alliance, it's better to cling to this powerful force. At the very least, you can pluck a few hairs from their legs. After a brief discussion, he made the decision immediately. Then let's hug him. That's right. It's also good for us to hold on to Fang Hao. I'll do whatever you say, leader. Ma Tianyi also breathed a sigh of relief and said, I'll have to trouble you all to devour the Lord's book for me. I'll give you City Lord's books later. The group presented the Lord's book, which was then consumed. Ma Tianyi stood up again. Come on, let me take you to see the troops that Boss Fang Hao left for us. Everyone was stunned. They had even left behind a unit. As they reached the door, they didn't forget to give a final word of advice. Girls, be prepared, especially Di Ningning. Don't be scared to tears. Di Ningning turned her head away. What haven't I seen in this world? Merchant Alliance Outpost, Succubus Hut. In the room on the inner side of the 3rd floor, a wisp of smoke rose from the carved incense burner, filling the room with fragrance. Behind the pink gauze curtain, a woman with a seductive figure and stunning beauty lay on her side. Her face looks like that of a young girl, yet it also exudes a mature and alluring charm. The light gauze covered 2 important parts of her body, leaving more of her fair and tender skin completely exposed to the air. Behind him was a demon's tail, swaying gently. On either side of the bed, several succubi dressed in leather were kneeling and gently kneading and massaging the area. Speak, what news do you have? The stunning succubus yawned and asked softly. Below, a little succubus wearing leather armor spoke up. Demon Lord, we have news. Explain. When I arrived at the valley, it had been completely cleared out, leaving only scattered soldier demons wandering around. Little succubus said. The demon lord frowned. She sat up, and the light gauze covering her body slipped off, revealing her perfect figure and fair, pinkish skin. How can you be sure they were eliminated? Traces of battle were left at the scene, with huge craters everywhere, indicating a large-scale battle had definitely taken place. Little succubus continued. Ha! The demon lord suddenly laughed, patting his chest lightly, his flesh rippling. They've been taken care of. I thought those guys were coming to settle scores with me. They scared me to death. Little succubus thought for a moment and continued. Should we investigate who did it? There are quite a few transmigrators around there. The demon lord's large eyes flickered slightly. He smiled and said, No need. Someone will come looking for us then. Hall of Justice. Splash. The heavy shackles dragged on the ground, leaving white scratches. Doherty looked at the people below and asked with an unfriendly expression, You are the envoys sent by the sea people? Humph. You dare to plunder and kill humans on the way. You're courting death. Bang. Upon hearing what Shi Ming and the others had brought, Doherty angrily slammed his hand on the table, shattering it. What negotiations for border peace? The sea creatures saw that after the Great War between humans and the undead, most of their forces were stationed on the undead borders. They intend to use the threat of war to extort money from the Federation. The Federation already owed the vampires a huge sum of money in compensation, and now that the sea race has arrived, how could he not be furious? In a fit of rage, he smashed the table in front of him with a single blow. Shi Ming and the others below suddenly felt their legs go weak and knelt down, their foreheads pressed against the ground. They knew that this was truly the end for them, and they feared they would never be able to leave the Federation's territory. Doherty took a deep breath, looked to the side, and said, Inform the sea creatures about what's happening here, and have them send someone through the Merchant Alliance to discuss this matter. Do not allow any sea creatures to cross the Federation border. Yes, the attendant beside him nodded in response. Then, Doherty looked down at the group of people who were kneeling and begging for mercy. He said coldly, Lock him in a cell. No one is allowed to approach him. Investigate the transmigrators who attempted the assassination. If there are no problems, release them. Yes, Chief. Shi Ming and the others were taken away. He was re-imprisoned in the dark and damp dungeon. Wow! In the empty underground Hidden Arms cave, a deafening cry suddenly rang out. This caused Ma Tianyi and the others who were walking in front to stumble and almost fall. Turning around suddenly, I saw Di Ningning and several girls huddled together, crying. Ma Tianyi sighed, just as he had predicted. The underground Hidden Arms cave was already dark, and the dense, neatly arranged skeletons only added to the darkness. The impact was still quite significant. Even the men walking in front were terrified when they saw what was happening. Several people were struggling to stand. Their legs were wobbling. Cough, cough. Stop crying. This is Fang Hao's troops. You insisted on seeing it, but you got scared afterward, Ma Tianyi said to the people behind him. When he first encountered such a group of undead, he wasn't much better off. But once you get used to it and adapt, it will be fine. Wow, Fang Hao really is Undead faction. The regional channel says it's true. No wonder, special factions are really powerful. I wish I were in a special faction too. What is the Undead recruitment system like? How can it recruit so many soldiers? When I used to play games, the Undead were all about fighting to survive, and they became stronger the more they fought. After getting used to it for a while, the crowd began to discuss it. Seeing that no one was there to comfort her, Di Ningning and the others behind her gradually quieted down. He also came over to listen to their conversation. Now, their doubts have finally been resolved. The boss's unit is undead, no wonder. Although I don't know what's so great about these skeleton soldiers. But what about hidden units? In short, it's definitely amazing. Those who are brave enough can go in and take a look. We'll use these troops to clear out the demons on the outskirts. Ma Tianyi continued. Immediately, members went down and began to grope and touch the skeleton. Outside, many more people were asking about the details. What's Fang Hao's age? Is he handsome or not? Doesn't it look like it has 3 heads and 6 arms, exuding an aura of dominance? In short, after learning about the different types of troops, new questions arose. Holy crap! Suddenly, another exclamation came from inside. These skeletons are all wearing blue suits. All of them are. The monks here all have purple weapons, which is too extravagant. Really? The crowd immediately gathered around and began to examine it carefully. Ma Tianyi simply smiled and didn't say anything more. He thought to himself, what's so special about this? In another enclosed hidden arms cave, there is a bone giant over 10 meters tall and a large number of skeleton archers, all carrying rifles. They just don't allow it. It's not that Fang Hao is stingy for not allowing skeleton archer to be used by them. Rather, it's rifle's current unique characteristics. The rifle is easy to disassemble and re-engraved with blueprint. Once they start flowing out, within a few days, rifles will flood the market. They were obtained by transmigrators from other factions and even other countries, who then directly inscribe them with blueprints and mass-produce them. Even if others create them in the future, we should try to slow down the rate at which they appear. The rides that Fang Hao sends out now are all to a few people he trusts. Moreover, they are all under key control. Even if the others gave Cannon the rights, they didn't give Rifle the right to use them. All right, everyone, just take a look and don't try to take off the equipment. Acceptable. Level 3 Bone Manipulation Technique. Divine Descent. 214 hours and 32 minutes. The skill in the Witchcraft Chamber, Bone Manipulation Technique, has been fully upgraded. Divine Descent, almost 8 days away. Upon receiving the Bone Manipulation Technique, it transformed into a beam of light and entered his body. At the same time, the Bone Manipulation Technique has also been improved. Upgrading Bone Manipulation Technique from Level 2 to Level 3 grants plus 10% mobility and plus 8% to all attributes when commanding undead skeletons. The level of Bone Manipulation Technique has been upgraded once again. At the same time, the skills of Bone Manipulation Technique in construction, it can still continue to improve. Bone Manipulation Technique, Shadowstone 15, Mana Essence 6, Skeleton Soldiers 30, Warfire Coin 800. There's nothing to hesitate about. Skeletons are his main unit. Bone Manipulation Technique is also an important skill that can directly enhance the combat effectiveness of all unit types. No matter how expensive, we must upgrade. After consuming Skeleton Soldiers, Skeleton Warrior was still selected. Confirm upgrade directly. The building was illuminated again, signaling the countdown. Bone Manipulation Technique Level 3. 359 hours and 59 minutes. I did a quick mental calculation. The next upgrade will be in 15 days. We can only wait patiently. This kind of upgrade system, which calculates progress by the day, is really troublesome. The skill upgrade is complete. Fang Hao continued towards the barracks area. Ancient Burial Pit. Category, Special Building. Available to recruit. Nisbet, Wriggling Spine 10, Traces of Death 7, Starlight Silver 5, Forgotten Soul 1. Description, Ancient, eternal spirits guard the magnificent tomb. Death is merely proof of decay. Of all the things Fang Hao gained from yesterday's battle with the demons, the most satisfying was, besides the demon fragment, there is also the Forgotten Soul. He wasn't quite sure about the other uses of the Forgotten Soul, but here, it is an important tool for recruiting Nisbet. Now, all 101 Nisbets in the territory have advanced to heroes and formed the Lord's Guard. Even the Lizardfolk Queen was surprised by how afraid Fang Hao was of death. No power is so extravagant as to use more than 100 heroes to form a personal guard. It's simply incomprehensible. We arrived at the building. Fang Hao opened the building and looked at the recruitment option. The recruitment quota has been adjusted to 5. Consume the required materials to recruit Nisbet. Recruit. Hundredfold amplification triggered. Recruiting Nisbet 505. The stone door in front of them opened, and 5 tall figures slowly walked out. At the same time, large swaths of light flashed all around. 500 tall figures appeared. The area was filled with people. The Nisbets curiously looked around at their surroundings, then all turned to look at Fang Hao. He bowed and said, "Greetings, immortal king. Okay, come with me to the central square. I'll make you some equipment and also let you learn about the city." Fang Hao continued. He turned around and led the group toward the center. In the square, Fang Hao introduced them to the territory and made a corresponding number of pieces of equipment and armor. But when it came to assigning tasks, Fang Hao hesitated again. The goal is to help Nisbet advance to hero status. However, before being promoted, there is still a stage to enhance one's strength. Nisbet's skills are actually quite unique. The skill Soul Devour allows him to devour the soul of an enemy after slaying them, while also increasing his own power. Nisbet's progress in hero advancement was not smooth before. However, relying on this skill, after accumulating enough power, advancing to the next hero level will be much easier. Later on, all the Nisbet evolved into heroes. Currently, the area surrounding the territory is relatively peaceful. The only places where fighting is needed are Amanda, and they are retaking some scattered outlying cities, so there's not much of a chance for battle to break out. The other task is for Ma Tianyi to clean up the remaining demons. Fang Hao immediately opened Lord's book and contacted Ma Tianyi, telling him that he would arrange for people to go and help them clear out the demons on the outskirts. Upon hearing that there would be help, Ma Tianyi immediately agreed happily. Silverwing City. Dusk falls. As expected, business at Xianming Tower is booming. Those exquisitely decorated gift boxes became items that young ladies and wealthy women competed to buy. In their conversation, they all boasted that they had bought gift boxes specially supplied to the nobility. Understanding the female market, Li Rong can be said to have a wealth of experience. Practicality can be lower, but it's essential to capture the market and stimulate a competitive spirit. Call. Li Rong stood by the second-floor window, exhaled a puff of smoke, and smiled slightly. "My mother's business is picking up again." Knock knock. A soft knock sounded at the door, and the guard outside said, "Sir, Su Yuanhang has arrived." Li Rong stubbed out her cigarette, turned around, and said, "Let him in." The door opened, and a slightly disheveled Su Yuanhang walked in, clearly having just been released. Before Li Rong could speak, Su Yuanhang bowed deeply and said, "Thank you for your help, sisterly." Li Rong frowned slightly. He glanced at Morse, who was sitting to the side, idly reading a paper novel. She spoke softly, saying, "Get up. Bai Xian asked Fang Hao to take care of you, and Fang Hao found me again, and I just happened to run into you yesterday." Su Yuanhang was taken aback. How did so many people suddenly appear? Bai Xian, Fang Hao, Li Rong. The debt owed is not just to one person. Me, our leader? She contacted boss Fang Hao. Su Yuanhang asked in surprise. "Otherwise what? Sisterly, do you also know boss Fang Hao?" "Of course. Remember to call me brother-in-law next time we meet." Oh, this. Su Yuanhang seemed to have discovered some earth-shattering secret. Sisterly, who is a big shot in Silverwing City, is actually in a romantic relationship with Fang Hao, a big shot in the industry. Ah, that's not right. Wasn't it said that Fang Hao was being kept by some city lord? Oh my god, this circle is so messy. Don't tell anyone about this. Just pretend you don't know anything. Oh, I know, sisterly. Li Rong smiled. What are your plans next? I heard you lost your city. Do you want to stay and help me? As for this young man, Su Yuanhang, people say he acted impulsively and rashly, but most people still admire him. How many people still retain this fighting spirit? Even if it takes a long journey, I will kill the enemy and avenge them. Su Yuanhang paused for a moment, then shook his head and said, "Sisterly, I will repay your and my brother-in-law's kindness, but I still want to go back and help our leader. The leader of the alliance is Bai Xian. He was treated quite well. This choice wasn't unexpected." Li Rong nodded. "All right, you'll come out of the city with me before the gates close. We'll pass through the Merchant Alliance then. Teleportation array will take you back. Thank you, sisterly, Su Yuanheng said again. Okay, you go outside and wait for a while. I'll take you back in a bit. Su Yuanheng nodded and left the room to wait. On the street. Look, what's that in the sky? A flying ship. Is it the enemy attacking? How can this ship fly in the sky? What is this thing? Not the enemy. It's the Federation flag. And the flag of Lysis City? It's a Lysis City ship? The sky, above the clouds. Huge airships pierced through the clouds and appeared above Silverwing City. The enormous shadow attracted the attention of the city's residents, sparking a discussion. Ordinary residents had never even seen a goblin. Moreover, this was early goblin technology. One can only exclaim in astonishment. Why are ships flying in the sky? The original hull was painted with the federal flag, parliament symbol, and Lysis City flag on the bottom edge. This was to identify the faction to which the ship belonged. As residents spotted the airship, several large Thunder Eagles took to the air. It soared into the sky to survey the airship. However, they did not stop it and allowed the airship to enter the city. The residents below followed the direction of the airship and ran towards the city. I'm planning to see what this flying ship is all about. Then, the airship landed in the city. Boxes of goods were being moved out. What did they bring down? Goods transported by Lysis City? Using this kind of thing as a transport fleet. Wow, that's awesome. People were talking about it, and some quickly returned to their families to report what they had seen. Rebecca is going crazy. They used these airships to form a transport fleet. The Federation doesn't have a single one. She took out so much just to transport goods. The message is also in Transmigrators. It's been uploaded to the channel. In addition, a series of pictures were attached. Silverwing City, a Kirov airship, has been spotted. Images. Wow. Are they starting to conquer the skies again? The Human Federation is so powerful. How come I heard they were defeated by the Undead not long ago? It's not from the Federation. I just asked, and it's an airship from Lysis City. It doesn't belong to the Federation. Lysis City? It looks so familiar. Isn't that the city where Fang Hao married into the family? Still want to marry into the family? Wait until the big boss skins you alive. We've got Lysis City. Boss Fang Hao, work a little harder tonight. That female city lord might be so happy that she'll give you 2 ships. Main city, courtyard, under the oak tree. Fang Hao continued to study the magic book. Red General, standing nearby, chased after the flying insects that were flitting among the flowers. In the afternoon, Fang Hao sent all the newly recruited Nisbet to Ma Tianyi to begin the encirclement and suppression of the spreading demons. After the entire enemy force is wiped out, return to advance the hero's rank. Not only can it enhance your strength, it can also increase your chances of advancing to the next level. Ma Tianyi also agreed with this decision. After all, fighting is no joke, and having someone to take their place gives them some free time. It was almost time. After giving instructions to Yer and the others, we headed directly to Lysis City. The channel is buzzing with news about the Lysis City airship. It seems the cargo has already arrived in various city areas. Release the teleportation light screen and go straight inside. Night falls. Rebecca leaned against the soft couch, looking out the window at the rising moon. I held the report that had just been delivered in my hand. For a moment, he lost his focus and recalled the secret conversations of the ladies at the banquet. I felt a little restless and uneasy. That guy Fang Hao, he only comes when I have to call him. Squeak. The door was pushed open, and Rebecca turned around in confusion to see the man she had just been thinking about standing in the doorway. They were looking at me with a big smile on their faces. Rebecca rubbed her eyes in disbelief, then widened them even more. What's wrong? Fang Hao walked in and sat down next to him. Nothing. Why did you come here today? Rebecca asked softly. Do I need a reason to visit my wife? With so few people coming, don't we need a reason? Hee. Be good. Don't be angry. He picked up her plump body and sat her back in his lap. Rebecca glared at her, crossed her arms, and casually put the things she was holding aside. Did you come for the school? Rebecca asked. No, I just missed you. Go and fool those little bunnies around you, Rebecca continued. The teacher recruitment is almost complete. Now we're arranging for people to persuade children from ordinary families to attend school, which is even more difficult than recruiting teachers. Ordinary residents do not have a high regard for learning. In particular, farmers in the surrounding villages would rather stay home and help with farming than send their children to school. No rush, we can take our time. After offering a reassuring remark, Fang Hao continued. How do you feel about orcs coming here to study? Rebecca frowned and thought about it seriously. Difficult to manage. Some gentle orcs, such as Rabbit Folk and Blackfoot Cat Clan. We can give it a try, but the number of people can't be too large. Fang Hao nodded and made a note of it. Actually, Copper Bull is quite willing to arrange for his people to learn. Last time, when he wanted to learn accounting, he insisted on sending Bull-Headed Man to learn it. They even insisted that their own people were intelligent. Since we don't have many students yet, it's good to also count the orc children from the surrounding area and send them here to learn. After a brief discussion about the school matters, Fang Hao continued, I heard the airship arrived in Silverwing City. Did it encounter any obstacles? How did you know? Rebecca turned her head and stared at him. She seemed to think that Fang Hao was spying on her. Oh dear, Transmigrators, the channel is full of photos of airships. Now Transmigrators all know you have an airship. Fang Hao bounced her around. Oh, the ship is carrying equipment sold to the Hall of Justice, so nothing can go wrong. Everything is going smoothly. We'll bring back Silverwing City specialties and potions delivered by the Alchemy Guild, Rebecca said. Okay, that's good. Fang Hao nodded as well. To be honest, Rebecca really did a great job running this place. Her political skills are in no way inferior to Amanda's, and most importantly, Rebecca is loyal to him. Unfortunately, he is not a hero yet. Thinking of this, Fang Hao tightened his embrace and said, now that the potion is here, you should also add training to your daily plan. If necessary, I can arrange for a hero to teach you, so you can improve faster. Okay, I got it. I'll get back to training as soon as the medicine comes back. The two chatted in hushed tones for a while. They then fell silent. Under the soft moonlight, the smooth white jade was arranged to glisten. Rebecca sat in the man's lap, her clothes half undone, one arm around his neck. Suddenly, Fang Hao noticed something furry on the soft couch out of the corner of his eye. Rebecca looked down, her expression changed, and she was about to kick him away. Fang Hao was even faster. He grabbed it in his hand. A rabbit's tail? A small, fluffy ball with a white jade bead attached to the top. You can tell by touch that it's man-made. A real rabbit's tail doesn't look like that, but they are quite similar. Looking at Rebecca with a puzzled expression, I noticed that her entire face was flushed red. He stammered. It was a gift from those ladies at the party. They said men don't want to go home, so they're trying this. He couldn't continue speaking after only halfway through his sentence. Even Fang Hao, who was standing next to her, could feel the heat emanating from her face. Oh, this. Fang Hao was also full of surprise. These kinds of keychains have been sold in regional channels for a long time, but it seems there's not much of a market for it. How did it become so popular in aristocratic circles? You'd look really good in this, Fang Hao whispered in his ear. Rebecca was a little hesitant, hooking her arm around his neck, and whispered, if you want to see, I'd be willing, but I'm not very good at it. Let me help you. You're too tense. Try to relax. Oh dear, is that where you put it? Don't do anything wrong. I spent the whole night playing with the fake rabbit. I rushed back early in the morning. I don't know why, but even though the rabbits at home are more realistic, they're all real, and they're still not as fun as the fake ones. He heard voices calling out, Master, coming from all around him. Fang Hao nodded in response and touched their ears. Sigh, yeah, why didn't I have any ears last night? I didn't notice at the time, but I should tell Rebecca next time that we can't be careless. Returned to Lord's Manor. Then they saw two funeral priests at the entrance, leading a tall, muscular hero who looked like a mummy. They stood there motionless. As you approach, information about the hero appears before you. Pure Main Lion King, Orange Tier 2 hero. It turns out that the undead hero has been created. Fang Hao walked over. Two funeral priests were the first to bow. My lord, this is the hero, the pure-maned Lion King. Okay, I understand. You guys go ahead and get busy, Fang Hao said. Funeral priest bowed again, then turned and left silently. The Lion King, now a hero of the dead, knelt on one knee and respectfully said, Greetings, Lord. Fang Hao scrutinized him carefully. Because Nielsen unlocked new technology, obtaining Orange Hero's corpse usually allows you to craft zombie-type heroes. The body retains its physical form. It not only increases physical resilience, but also helps preserve the strength one possesses in life. Even now, the Lion King is a ghost. It still retains very obvious characteristics. For example, its thick fur resembles that of a bristling lion. Okay, from now on I'll call you Lion King. Yes, sir, Lion King. Go to the warehouse first and choose the equipment that suits you. Let me know if you need anything else. Fang Hao continued. Yes, sir. The pure-maned Lion King stood up and walked towards the warehouse. Fang Hao also began to check his attributes. Pure-maned Lion King, Orange Tier 2 hero. Faction, Zombie. Template, Golden. Racial traits: zombie, organ replacement, light weakness. Legion talents: lion hero, land commander, defender. Skills: instructor, 100 strike fist, beast king palm, red fangs, power surge, divine descent. Unique skill: domain combat mastery, fierce lion hero. This unit commands the fierce lion clan troops, granting plus 15% to all attributes and plus 10% to physical defense. Land commander. This unit commands land units, granting it plus 25% movement speed, plus 25% combat skill, and plus 5% attack power. Defender. This unit commands the Legion, granting plus 18% physical resistance and plus 10% ranged evasion. Instructor. Passive. Possesses strong teaching abilities, increases trainee training by 10%, and has a 5% chance to impart their own skills. 100 crack fist. Passive. Quickly and skillfully use physical techniques such as punch, tile breaking, landslide, gale, and rock splitting. Beast King Palm. Active. The palm wind is like the roar of a tiger and the howl of a lion, increasing attack power by 200% for 120 seconds. Red Fangs. Active. Elbow strike. Deals 200% critical strike damage. Power surge. Passive. Increases attack by 5% for each kill, stacking up to 50. The effect disappears 50 seconds after leaving combat. Beast Divine Descent. Active. Activates Bloodline, increasing all attributes by 200% for 120 seconds. Description: a creation of a mortal necromancer, not recognized by the god of the undead. This hero cannot be upgraded or advanced. The pure main Lion King skills are actually quite good. Heroes who charge into battle and engage in close quarters combat. Legion type skills are nothing special. They all provide bonuses to land-based units. Defender increases physical resistance and ranged evasion. It can be said that this greatly increases the survival rate of the troops. Undead units. Survival doesn't seem to be their best suit. They should be preserving their combat capabilities. The first skill is Instructor. This skill still surprised Fang Hao quite a bit. It can train troop units, providing a 10% training bonus, and has a 5% chance to teach them skills. This does fit the current situation within the territory. He would be a good fit as an instructor to train rabbit girls. 100 Fists, Beast King Palm, and Red Fangs are all melee skills. Increase the hero's combat power. Njia also knows 100 Fists and Red Fangs. According to Njia, she also learned from Fierce Lion Clan. The subsequent power surge increases attack power by 5% for each kill, stacking up to 50 times, which is quite powerful. This kind of fighting style, where the more you fight, the stronger you get, is actually very difficult to deal with. The final Beast Divine Descent form increases all attributes by 200% upon release, making it a direct burst of damage and essentially a powerful ultimate move. Overall, the Lion King's abilities are indeed quite formidable. All skills are focused on specialties and expertise. Close quarters combat, all melee skills, even the passive ones, all enhance melee capabilities. Soon, the Lion King then returned, dressed in full armor with a pair of tiger claws hanging from his waist. It should be the equipment used by the pure main Lion King before. Fang Hao thought for a moment, then said, Lion King, grown-ups, you stay in the city and teach everyone the training. I'll assign you a new task after some time. Fang Hao said, I will follow your instructions. After saying that, he led him toward the Blackstone training ground. During the journey, Fang Hao also introduced him to the situation inside the city and what each area was for. As you approach the training ground, you can hear the sounds of the women training. A group of rabbit girls, with surging breasts, punched and kicked. It's visually stunning. With his hands behind his back, and Jia, who looked like a coach, noticed the two people walking towards him. He told me to continue training and then jogged over. Come see me. And Jia said happily. Recently, many new techniques have been discovered from novel texts. And Jia has always been a bit bolder, and the two of them enjoyed doing all sorts of silly things. After exchanging greetings, my gaze fell upon the pure main Lion King to the side. Tempest, you're alive. As a former enemy, Njia recognized him at a glance. Miss Njia, Lion King bowed. Even if it's made into an undead, it still retains its past memories. Only the bad parts will be modified. Njia, from now on, Lion King will be in charge of everyone's training, Fang Hao said. Njia's face instantly lit up, and she asked pitifully, was it because I did something wrong? Seeing this, Fang Hao hurriedly said. Of course not. And Jia did a great job. The Lion King has the skill of an instructor, which makes him more suitable to guide and train everyone. And there is also a chance that he will pass on his combat skills. And Jia thought for a moment, then asked, then what should I do? You'll be the assistant instructor, and you'll also be training alongside them, learning all of the Lion King's skills. Fang Hao said directly. The Lion King nodded. I am willing to pass it on to Miss and Jia. And Jia thought about it, and felt that she wasn't at a disadvantage. At least I can accompany Fang Hao around again from now on, instead of having to watch over maids training every day. It's a win-win situation to learn fierce Lion Clan skills as well. All right, then this place is yours from now on. And Jia stepped forward and patted the Lion King on the shoulder. Yes, Miss and Jia. Fang Hao smiled and said, all right. And Jia, please introduce the Lion King to everyone, and then we can discuss the future training plan. Okay. And Jia nodded and led the Lion King inside. He introduced the new instructor to maids, who had been curiously looking in their direction. The maids within the city walls are quite daring. Skeletons, ghosts, and zombies aren't scary at all. The accountant, Yue, who lives in the city, has children raised by skeletons. The dead have become a part of everyone's lives. Fang Hao glanced at it, and then turned and left. He returned to his lodgings and continued reading his magic book. 2 days later, Silverwing City, Chinatown. Pa, what is that? A coward who's only brave at home. How dare you show your face? Suhaid walked through Chinatown, surrounded by shouts of curses. 1 or 2 is manageable. After all, their status as church saints can intimidate the other party. But if everyone on the street is cursing you, it really makes things difficult for him. What can we do? Arrest everyone? The church doesn't have the final say in Silverwing City. Suhaid was cursing those Japanese devils in his heart, thinking, what the hell are you doing here after you've done something bad? It makes it seem like I'm your accomplice. Yesterday, due to his plummeting reputation among the transmigrators, the representative of Lysis City directly proposed to elect a new representative for the transmigrators, remove him from office, and hold a new vote to elect someone else. This not only alarmed Suhaid, but also the church. The church went to great lengths to get Suhaid into this position, but he's only been in it for 2 days, and now he's ruining it all. The archbishop berated him all night, and then went to Doherty to barely manage to quell the matter. But he also needs to turn his reputation around in transmigrators. Otherwise, if the transmigrators don't listen to him, there's no point in him being the representative. Early in the morning, I brought some church resources to Chinatown to grind reputation. But to my surprise, several days have already passed. People still rejected him. Amidst a barrage of insults, he could only leave dejectedly. Inside the tavern by the roadside, Suhaid's reputation is ruined. No one will believe him anymore. Wei Yonghui, a transmigrator trained by the Hall of Justice, said softly from the window. Opposite him was Li Rong from the Mage Association. He deserves it. He was caught, so he has to bear the consequences, Li Rong said. Wei Yonghui smiled and asked, Sisterly, do you think the parliament can re-elect representatives? It's hard to say. Didn't you try to probe Doherty? Li Rong looked at him curiously. Sigh, I hardly ever get a chance to see him. At most, I just train with the army. Wei Yonghui picked up her wine glass, took a sip, glanced at the church carriage that was gradually disappearing from view, and continued to ask, if there were a re-election, would Sisterly want to be one? Li Rong paused in her chopsticks movement. What you want to? I think if Sisterly doesn't have this idea, I hope you can support me. It turns out he was also interested. Li Rong shook her head. It's hard to say. It depends on the Mage Association's attitude. My promise to you wouldn't make any difference. He then added, but we can reach a consensus that whoever takes office should try to support the other party. Wei Yonghui nodded, saying it was good for both of them. Good. When? The two clinked glasses and drank it all in one gulp. Whether it's the parliament or matters concerning the sea creatures, it did not cause much of a stir among the indigenous people. At most, they'd say something like, Transmigrators has gotten into trouble again, and then stop paying attention. Today is a special day for the indigenous people. The Toad Cycle, starting today for the next week. Single girls from every household, after carefully dressing up, walked out onto the street, carrying wooden railings. Take out the frog with the red silk ribbon tied to it from the wooden enclosure, and gently kiss it. Let them roam freely in all directions. I hope to find my sweetheart and get married within the year. Meanwhile, the young men waiting nearby would approach their favorite girls after releasing the frogs and get to know them. Releasing the frogs is just one step. Importantly, unmarried men and women have the opportunity to meet here. After all, spring is the season for reproduction. On the other side, Fu Lei and several others emerged from the bushes, each carrying a bamboo basket. The croaking of frogs could be heard coming from inside. How many did you catch? There are probably more than 20. How about you? I have more, over 50, which should be enough to supply hot pot restaurants this time. Catch more. This is a rare opportunity. Good. Lysis City, Lord Hall. Fang Hao and Rebecca sat on one side. On the opposite side sat several familiar faces. Doherty, the head of the Hall of Justice, and several members of the council. He didn't know what had happened either. Suddenly Rebecca called him over, saying that Doherty had something to discuss. Chief Doherty, now you can speak. What brings you here? The servants brought tea, and Rebecca spoke coldly. His tone made no attempt to hide his unwelcomeness towards Doherty's sudden visit. Doherty seemed oblivious to what was going on and said, "You must have heard about the sea creatures by now, right?" "Yes, I've heard about it. The sea creatures see that the Federation has deployed most of its troops to the borders of the vampires, leaving them without troops to protect the coastal areas. They are using this as an excuse to demand compensation from the Federation," Doherty said. For it, now, Rebecca and Fang Hao finally know what the sea creatures sent to discuss. Taking advantage of someone's misfortune, believing that the Federation and the vampires were at an impasse, they planned to use war as a threat to force the Federation to give them benefits. Are people in this era all so materialistic? It's blatant robbery. They didn't make any excuses. Rebecca glanced at Fang Hao out of the corner of her eye, her tone remaining calm. "This is something you, as the leader, should consider. There's nothing we can do about it," Doherty continued. "I plan to transfer troops to the coastal areas. I can temporarily lend you those airships in Lysis City to transport troops. Also, could you provide Mr. Fang Hao's organ cannon to the Hall of Justice?" Smack. No sooner had she finished speaking than Rebecca slammed her hand on the table. Her beautiful face was filled with anger. "Doherty, are you a robber? You come here and say you want both the ship and the cannon. You want to take all the good stuff." Rebecca, Lysis City, is also a member of the Upper Council, so it's natural that we should set an example in important matters, said one of the accompanying counselors. Another person chimed in. "Yes, as Upper Council members, we naturally have to give more while enjoying our rights." Rebecca's expression grew even colder. "The Upper Council doesn't include us in their meetings, but when they need our cooperation, they remember I'm a member of the Upper Council." They only learned about the sea creatures after Doherty mentioned it. When it comes to important matters, the Upper Council members really don't include Lysis City. "Rebecca, please sit down. I'm just here to discuss this with you. Let's talk it over slowly," Doherty said. There was nothing he could do about Rebecca's personality. If it were a matter of forcibly requisitioning, Rebecca would have blown up the ship rather than give it to the Federation. In any case, you can't be too forceful with this woman. Rebecca took a deep breath and sat down beside her. "Tell me, what do you want to discuss?" Doherty said. "We certainly won't let Lysis City do all this for nothing. After it's done, the airship will be returned to you, and I plan to recommend you to the Hall of Justice to become the Hall's standard bearer." Rebecca frowned. Fang Hao was taken aback, as he was somewhat unfamiliar with the newly introduced official position. The title of standard bearer is an honorary title bestowed by regional leaders upon knights who have fought bravely or those who have made special contributions. It is usually given to their close confidants, or even their sons and grandsons. Similarly, becoming a standard bearer also signifies having the status of a member of the Hall of Justice, with the help of Human Faction, the largest official force. In Human Faction, becoming the standard bearer is a source of both fame and fortune, a true honor. Similarly, Doherty found the terms he offered to be very tempting. "Not interested," Rebecca replied. "It's not that I'm not interested, but I'm afraid that if I join the Hall of Justice, I'll be tied down by even more things. Then she'll be led by the nose again. So she might as well just be a dutiful wife of the city lord." Cough, cough. Doherty nearly choked and was quite surprised by Rebecca's answer. Then he continued, "Rebecca, don't rush to refuse. The standard bearer also holds a very high position in the Hall of Justice. In addition to the regular funding, there is also an opportunity to enter the Hall of Blessing." Upon hearing Hall of Blessing, Rebecca's hand, which was under the table, involuntarily grabbed Fang Hao's thigh. Fang Hao was also startled. Clearly, this Hall of Blessing is still very important. Carefully, I moved her hand away from my inner thigh. If I grabbed the wrong hand, I probably wouldn't be able to use it for several days. "You can go by yourself, or you can let your husband go." Doherty glanced at the two of them. "Rebecca, You know I have no ill intentions towards you or your husband. This is the maximum authority I can exercise. Rebecca looked at Fang Hao, her eyes revealing that she was already smitten. It's up to you, Fang Hao said. Rebecca frowned and pondered for a long time. He gently pinched his thigh again, then said to Doherty, "Okay, I agree to your conditions. The 4 organ cannons will be delivered to you through the transmigrators, and you can also use the airship that remains in Silverwing City. All right, I will return and immediately hand over the matter of the standard bearer. Let's prepare to head to the Blessed Land in half a month." Doherty said, "Okay." Rebecca nodded. With the matter concluded, Doherty stood up again and said, "All right, now that we've finished talking, let's head back." The two nodded, and the accompanying monk tore the scroll to shreds. They disappeared on the spot. After the group left, their figures disappeared. Fang Hao then asked, "What is Hall of Blessing? It doesn't sound like a nice place." Rebecca had her servant bring her hot tea and explained, "The Hall of Blessing is a special location controlled by the Hall of Justice. It contains the legacy left by successive leaders. Those who enter it have a high chance of becoming heroes upon exiting, at the very least as orange rank heroes. It is considered an important means for the Hall of Justice to cultivate talent." Holy crap, Fang Hao almost spat out his drink. The worst orange. This is totally unreasonable. Although humans are one of the most populous races on the continent, they are by no means powerful. Go in and come out. The worst is orange. How could things have turned out like this? What's wrong? Rebecca didn't understand why he was reacting so strongly. Fang Hao said, "That's not right. They're orange heroes coming in and out. So why are humans still so weak? There must be some restrictions. I'm not too sure about the specifics, but the Blessed Land thing is definitely true. The Hall of Justice uses it to train talent every year." Rebecca calmly took a sip of tea. "By the way, would it be a loss to trade 4 organic cannons for it? The airship will be returned eventually, but the organ cannon that was sent out will then belong entirely to Doherty." Fang Hao shook his head. "No compensation. If I switch to an orange hero, I definitely won't lose money. If there are any spots available, I'll switch again. For cannons, switch heroes. He can take warehouse's stuff and replace it all with heroes." "Okay, you go then. You'll be a hero when you come out," Rebecca continued. Fang Hao shook his head. "I have my own path to promotion. Go and make yourself stronger. Go ahead. You don't seem like you used to be. You always look completely exhausted. You need to improve your stamina." As the two talked, the maid standing nearby blushed. Lizardman's main city, Setzelin. Inside the palace, lizard folk Queen Anastasia, lounging lazily in a chaise lounge. He took the fruit handed to him by a servant and put it in his mouth to chew. In order to mate during her pilgrimage, she needs to replenish a lot of nutrients. It also made her originally slender figure appear slightly fuller, but its elegance has not diminished in the slightest. Below, there were temple priests, court officials, and army generals. Hundreds of people sat around the long table below, passing around the list and confirming the final choice of the queen's husband. The queen sat there, seemingly calm, but occasionally glancing down. "I hope that the person I've chosen will be selected. Does it matter what the queen likes? It may be important, but in the future of the ancient saints and the Holy Dynasty, liking this feeling is just a bonus. If you don't get elected, there's nothing you can do." The crowd began to whisper among themselves, and then, finally, they took out 2 portraits. The priest Tic-Tac-Ta picked them up, respectfully walked to the center of the hall, and unfurled both scrolls simultaneously, displaying them before the queen. "Your Majesty, there are 2 candidates. One is a young general of the Holy Dynasty, Sensi Bali. He is outstanding in appearance and is a rare talent of the Holy Dynasty." The queen nodded slightly. "The second is Mr. Dimitrika, who is more powerful and capable, but he belongs to an outside force and refuses to join the Holy Dynasty. The ownership of his offspring may easily cause disputes." The queen's eyes lit up with delight upon seeing Dimitrika selected, but she quickly regained her composure and asked softly, "In terms of bloodline, who is more suitable?" "Mr. Dimitrika, he is closer to the bloodline of the ancient saints," Tic-Tac-Ta said. The queen nodded and said, "Let's settle on these 2 first. Tic-Tac-Ta, you will come with me to Fang Hao's place in the next 2 days to see how to resolve this matter. If possible, we should prioritize blood ties." "Yes, Your Majesty." Tic-Tac-Ta nodded and put the portrait away. "All right, you can all go now. I'm tired. I'm going to rest for a while." Everyone rose, bowed, and left the room. Upon returning from Lysa's city, Fang Hao also received a message from Li Rome. In recent days, Suhaid has become a pariah in transmigrators. Whenever they go out, if a transmigrators encounter them, they will mutter a few curses under their breath. Of course, due to their status as saints, they dared not do anything drastic. But that only applies to not getting beaten up. The insults never stopped. I heard that Parliament is considering re-electing transmigrators. Is that true? Li Rong asked. Fang Hao replied. The upper council doesn't include Lysis City in their activities, so we don't receive any news from them. Damn, then all that time spent in upper council was for nothing. It's not that bad. The upper council still has the power. If there's a re-election, I'll have someone recommend you, Fang Hao replied. Okay, that's what I meant, Li Rong said happily. You greedy woman. I recently took 2 photos. Would you like to see them? Let me offer my critique. With Fang Hao's layout, caravans began to move about in different areas of the territory. Airships could be seen flying over each city, transporting goods between them. This creates an internal cycle, allowing their own commercial specialties to circulate to other races. While improving the quality of life for residents in various regions, it can also increase local income. A huge airship landed, kicking up a cloud of dust. Fang Hao took a few steps back, fanning away the dust that was rushing towards him. After the airship came to a stop, a tall troll leaped down from it. He landed with a thud, then knelt on one knee, saying, Lord. This person is the troll merchant, Iname, who is in charge of troll caravan issues in the Bloody Mountains. Well, how's the caravan going? Is it effective? Fang Hao asked. He also didn't know Iname's purpose in coming here. Yes, all the goods we brought this time were sold, which is a good income for us. Iname's face showed undisguised joy. On the troll side, life was indeed not good after the Great War. Earning money through this method is a viable path for development. Okay, that's good. What brings you here? Fang Hao continued to ask. Iname nodded and said, My lord, Lord Rebecca of Lysis City has placed an order in the Bloody Mountains to purchase a large quantity of rock mushrooms and other crops. We plan to arrange for manpower to cultivate them on a large scale. Rock mushroom? Fang Hao immediately understood Rebecca's idea. Trolls have little use for this fungus, but it is an important alchemical ingredient in the Alchemy Guild of Human Faction. Once transported to Lysis City, Rebecca can resell it to Silverwing City. Good heavens, she earned all the money. Yes, we can cooperate with them. I'll have Rebecca give you a reasonable price, Fang Hao said directly, understanding Iname's thoughts. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Is there anything else? Iname thought for a moment and continued. My lord, I see that there is still construction going on in the city. You said that we trolls are stronger, so could we go and help out and show some usefulness? Fang Hao was taken aback again. This was a plan to let the trolls leave the Bloody Mountains. A ship adrift on the waves. Inside the relatively spacious cabin, 2 factions were seated respectively, Human Federation and Sea People. On the Human Federation side was Blul, the Hall of Justice's coastal commander, a burly middle-aged man with a scar on his lip. He turned his gaze to the sea creatures opposite him and said in a cold voice, Speak. What does the sea creature want to discuss? The sea creatures opposite were led by Hirosh, the Lord of Giant Claw Island, who had a human body and a snake tail. After learning that Sher Hemming and others had been arrested and imprisoned by the Federation before any negotiations could take place, he personally came over. Where are my men? Release them first, or there's nothing to talk about. Just wait for the Sea Tribe's army. Hirosh's voice was equally cold. Those transmigrators plundered and murdered Federation residents. And you think you can just let them go with a single sentence? Blur sneered. You say you'll kill them, and you just do it? I could say those residents were out of their minds and jumped into the sea to drown themselves. The church has the power to interrogate, and they themselves have admitted it. What excuse do you have? Who knows what tricks you played? I didn't even see anyone. Whatever the Federation says goes. Hirosh remained unyielding. He really didn't want to deal with the rest of the transmigrators. It doesn't matter whether I live or die. But sure, He Ming possesses highly advanced forging skills. The sea creatures rely on him for improvements to their weapons. It's a loss for the sea creatures to be slaughtered like this, so we must save them. The sea creatures want to discuss this matter? Then we won't keep you company, Brol said solemnly. Hirosh sneered and said, Release them, and the Federation will provide the pirates with 50 million resources. Otherwise, don't blame the sea creatures for being impolite. You're welcome. When have you sea creatures ever been polite? What's the difference between you and wild beasts? Blul, watch your tone, or don't blame me for keeping you here. Blul sneered. Hirosh, you're just a lord of a small, insignificant island. Yet you dare to provoke a war between two sides. You think I wouldn't dare? If you dare, then do it now. Come on. If you don't, you're a coward. Both negotiators slammed their fists on the table and stood up, glaring at each other with eyes blazing with fury. Those accompanying them also had their hands on the hilts of their knives, ready to act at any moment. After a long standoff, Blur said coldly, "Those transmigrators will be executed in the main city for murder. If the sea creatures want to start a war, let them come. My Federation is not afraid of you. At sea, humans have little chance against sea creatures, but with the land as their stronghold and the Federation's reinforcements arriving soon, they have nothing to fear from the sea creatures." After saying this, without waiting for the sea creatures to react, he turned around and left with his people. Hirosh, a member of the Sea Tribe, was taken aback. The Federation was surprisingly assertive. He immediately said, "Wait." Blur turned around and asked, "Is there anything else? I don't care about the others, but there's a transmigrators named Shi Himing among them. I can pay the ransom to get him." Hirosh said immediately. Blur glanced at him and said, "I will send the message back to Silverwing City. We'll see how things are handled then." After saying that, he left immediately. The group of sea creatures left behind were somewhat confused about the situation. Don't we say that humanity lacks both financial and military resources? How can they have such confidence? Did humans and the undead not fight? Or rather, there was something wrong with the intelligence. Merchant Alliance, Location 011, Spring Auction. The goblin Kukti Tor sat in a private room on the second floor, his gaze fixed on the ground below, looking ready to pounce. Just then, the door opened, and another goblin walked in. He whispered, "Mr. Kukti Tor, I just asked the person in charge of the site. Among the items for sale this time, there are 3 pieces of orange equipment, 12 pieces of purple equipment, as well as various equipment and props of different qualities. There are also many transmigrators' territories. I heard that the transmigrators have been taken into custody. If you can buy them, you can inherit these territories. They are also quite popular items to bid on." Kukti Tor frowned. This number 11 outpost is really violent. They're auctioning off transmigrators' territories. Isn't that just encouraging more people to fight for territory? The attendant said, "As you know, the orc forces on number 11 are the majority, and the fighting has never stopped, regardless of whether there are transmigrators or not." "Well, that's none of our business. Have you found out what kind of blueprint I need?" "I found out. It's also among the auction items." "Well, let's wait and see." "Okay, the next item up for auction is Blueprint, a denier wood processing plant. The plant mainly produces ironwood raw materials. I'm sure you've all heard about the uses of ironwood. It's not only a material for many pieces of equipment, but also a major building material needed for level 15 cities. Whether for personal use or for sale, it has long-term value, and Blueprint is the first step in generating value. The starting bid is 570,000 Warfire coins, and each bid must be at least 10,000 Warfire coins. As soon as the auctioneer finished speaking, the crowd below began bidding. Blueprints are rarely sold at auctions. Once available, they are usually among the best-selling types. Kukti Tor's purpose for this trip was also to purchase Ironwood's blueprint for Fang Hao. After all, I made a promise to them. Soon, the price soared to 720,000. Prices have paused slightly. Kukti Tor said, 730,000. The goblin following beside him immediately flipped over the code plate, which showed 730,000. 800,000, someone shouted from below. 801,000. Kukti Tor added another 10,000. 900,000. 901,000. A surge of anger rose in the hearts of the guests below. They stood up, looked at the private room on the second floor, and roared, "Damn it! Are you rich or poor? Why do you keep adding 10,000 at a time?" The insults went unanswered. After his initial anger subsided, the guest realized that the guests upstairs were all of high status. I was too impulsive. Seeing that the other party did not respond, he did not dare to raise the price any further. After the auctioneer asked 3 times, but no one raised the price, the gavel fell. The blueprint processing plant was photographed by Kukti Tor. Similarly, the next item was brought up for auction. The auctioneer announced, "The next item up for auction is the Finestone Bricks Blueprint Factory, starting at $750,000. Inside the private room, Kukti Tor was taken aback, then overjoyed. Unexpectedly, the 2 blueprint items that Fang Hao asked me to buy still appeared one after another. This saved a lot of trouble. Mr. Kukti Tor." Just as Kukti Tor was feeling somewhat pleased, his attendant suddenly spoke up. "What's wrong?" Kuktitor asked. We probably don't have enough money to bid for this blueprint. What? Go back and get it right now. Bring all the money I can get my hands on. Hurry up, Kuktitor urged hurriedly. Fang Hao will pay for both of these items. I'm just covering the costs myself. What's there to be afraid of? Oh yes, sir. The attendant immediately ran out to get the money. After dinner, fragrant tea and pastries were also served on the table. Fang Hao looked across at Kuktitor, who was patting his stomach, and smiled, saying, Have some tea, or you won't feel well tonight. As luck would have it, your had just finished preparing dinner. Kuktitor then rushed over. Since everyone had arrived, they stayed for dinner. It's all right. It's all right. It'll be fine in a bit, Kuktitor said, but still picked up his teacup and took a sip, then let out a comfortable breath. After a brief chat, the two exchanged a few words. Fang Hao continued, Mr. Kuktitor, is there something you need from me this time? Kuktitor looked as if he had suddenly remembered something, bent down to pick up his small briefcase, and pulled out 2 blueprints. The spring auction was held at the 11th today, and I happened to be passing by, so I bought these 2 blueprints for you. Fang Hao took it and saw the ironwood and fine stone bricks processing plant blueprint. He still showed a look of surprise and delight. That goblin really got things done. He got it sorted out right away. Thank you so much, Mr. Kuktitor. This is exactly what I needed, Fang Hao said immediately. Hey, my friend asked, so of course I have to be serious. Besides, it's nothing. I just happened to run into them. By the way, you have to pay for the auction. I don't have that much money. As he spoke, he took out the receipt for the items issued by Merchant Alliance. Of course, I should pay for it. After seeing Kuktitor off, Fang Hao headed straight out of the city. A processing plant for ironwood was to be built on a spacious plot of land outside the city. Previously, factories were all built in the city, because during that period, the area outside the city was not safe. As the territory developed and expanded, the surrounding powers all became subordinate cities. The area outside the city became safe. No one will interfere with the construction of the factory. In front of the open space, Fang Hao opened the blueprint. Dense wood processing plant. Wood 3100, tough wood 1500, stone 1200, stone bricks 800, tough leather 350, metal parts 120, rich essence 1. In addition to improving the materials, a rare material, rich essence, is also needed. Construction confirmed. The light gradually rose, and the construction time was 30 minutes. It's not short at all. Time flies by as you stroll around outside and chat with the deer that come out for a walk. Dense wood processing plant. Placement. Workers 0/30. Ingredients. Wood, wood hardener, tough wood, bone glue, resin, coke. Production. Tough wood, ironwood. Description. Through synthesis, minewood can be crafted into high-grade ironwood. In addition to producing ironwood, the densification plant can also produce tough wood. It can replace ordinary processing plants. It can be considered an upgraded building. Tough wood remains the mainstream material, and existing factories still need to produce it. Later on, the ordinary factories can be dismantled, and only these dense material factories can be kept. The materials required are nothing special. They either already exist within the territory, or they can be created. It can be produced directly. After reviewing the building properties, Fang Hao then ordered a large number of labor skeletons to be brought in. Meanwhile, they continued to build processing plants on a large scale. The labor skeleton team that came over is operating the construction, and production will begin tonight. The sooner you gather the materials to build a level 15 building, the sooner Lord's Manor will be upgraded. After finishing the wood processing plant, I glanced at the time, and it was already 9 p.m. After some thought, he decided to take 2 Nisbet heroes, activate the teleportation light screen, and head to the Bloody Mountains. With Steela's guidance, a fine stone bricks processing plant was built in the mountains. The next day, Organ Museum. Fang Hao looked at Nielsen, somewhat surprised that he was able to come out. In the past, whenever there was work to be done, Nielsen would work until the very end. In severe cases, it may not come out for more than a month. Fortunately, the dead don't die suddenly, otherwise they might have been exhausted. Academics should balance work and rest. They shouldn't be working inside all the time, Fang Hao said, sitting on a bench. Nielsen sat to the side, holding the wooden cane in his hand. He said, there are some tasks that the funeral priest can handle. Moreover, once you become an immortal undead, you will no longer feel tired or in pain. Once the Lord has also been transformed, he will understand the benefits of becoming immortal. That explains why Nielsen came out. There are steps involved, and funeral priest can also perform this procedure. Hearing Nielsen bring up turning him into an undead again, he quickly changed the subject. Sir, I recently cleared out a demon camp and obtained some materials, but I don't know what they're for. As he spoke, he took out all the materials he had obtained. Demon Fang Hao, Hoof Demon Essence. Nielsen took it and examined it carefully. After obtaining the 3 materials, Fang Hao even went to the library in Lysis City to check the information. Not only were these 3 materials not found, but there were also very few records of demons. Fang Hao even felt that he knew more than what was recorded in the books. Now we can only rely on Nielsen. Nielsen looked at it for a while, then nodded and said, "It is indeed material from a demon." Fang Hao was delighted. If he could recognize the person, that would be great. Does a scholar know what use he is? I remember seeing a record of these teeth and hooves, saying they could be used to forge equipment and as alchemical potions, but I can't recall exactly what they could be used for, Nielsen said, looking at the materials. Nielsen's knowledge comes from his previous memories. There are no books in the territory now, let alone any records to consult. Furthermore, Fang Hao already knows one of the uses of the demon Fang. It can be used to forge a purple armor called Chaos Armor. Then I'll go ask the alchemist. Maybe that will let me know. It should be possible. The first task of an alchemist is to become familiar with many complex raw materials. Identifying these 2 shouldn't be a problem, Nielsen continued. Fang Hao nodded. Then what is the use of this demon essence? If it were called demon essence, Fang Hao could be certain it was a rare material, but calling it essence made things a bit uncertain. I can sense the abundant corrupting energy within, which I haven't seen recorded in any ancient texts. Perhaps only the demons themselves know its purpose, Nielsen said. Well, I killed all the demons myself. Even if they did see it, the result would be shouting and killing. There would be no time to ask about the purpose of the materials. Let's keep it for now. It might come in handy someday. The 2 chatted quietly for a while, and then Jia ran over excitedly. Nielsen, you're out. Want to play a couple of rounds of dominoes? I've learned a couple of new tricks recently. Since Nielsen rarely had time to rest, Fang Hao didn't press him to ask about the demon materials. He then made room for the 2 of them to play cards. The 2 were actually playing dominoes, and the rules were closer to those of military chess. It's quite brain-teasing. While Njia's skills are not as good as Nielsen's, they are enough to pass the time. Silverwing City. Li Rong and Wei Yonghui, protected by heroes and guards, stood near a corner, watching the crowd gathering in front of them. Is the Hall of Justice moving that fast? Is he about to be killed? Just as Li Rong asked the question, one after another, dejected transmigrators were brought out from the wooden platform in front of the gallows, their heavy shackles rattling loudly on their hands and feet. Those few Japanese people sent by the Sea Tribe. It's only been a few days, and the Hall of Justice has already announced the execution. Besides the Hall of Justice wanting to expedite the process, it's also at the request of the church. This time, Suhaid is to carry out the execution in an attempt to salvage some of their reputation, Wei Yonghui said in a low voice. As he finished speaking, Suhaid, dressed in a church saint's robe and holding a book, walked up slowly with his back straight. With an upright and composed demeanor, they began to loudly proclaim the crimes of these people. They plundered Federation residents at sea and cultivated relationships everywhere they went in Silverwing City. He vaguely mentioned that he was unaware of the situation and was almost deceived by these people. TCH, nobody's stupid. Who would believe what he's saying? Li Rong scoffed. Wei Yonghui said, whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. As long as everyone is half believing and half doubting and unsure, this matter will basically calm down after a while. So, the re-election of Transmigrators representatives is not going to happen. It's highly unlikely. We'll just have to see if Suhaid encounters any more problems later. Wei Yonghui also felt a little regretful. Both of them were staring at this spot. Soon, the evidence against these people was read out. One by one, hemp ropes were looped around the necks of the men. With a bang, the cover under their feet opened, and the bodies of several people fell down, the hemp rope around their necks suddenly tightening. During the violent struggle, the transmigrators' faces began to contort into a terrifying grimace. As the criminals stopped struggling, the crowd below erupted in cheers. In addition to the transmigrators, there were also a large number of accompanying militia. These militiamen would be enslaved and sent to mines and factories, where they would also serve as laborers. Boring. What's there to cheer about in a dead body? I'm going back now. You can watch it all yourself. Li Rong turned and left with the hero and his guards. Upon returning to the shop, He informed Su Yuanhang of the news of these people's deaths. He finally got his revenge. Merchant Alliance headquarters. Executions are not carried out here, and fights are rarely seen. The streets remained bustling and busy. In front of the shop, someone beckoned customers to come in. Even people of opposing races would at most turn their heads indifferently and leave when they saw each other. Fang Hao took Dimitrika and led you to several shops in succession. I bought some spell scrolls from various shops. Next, we arrived at Lizardman's store. As soon as the store door opened, the Lizardman staff all looked at the two of them. Since it wasn't their first time there, the staff already recognized them. Welcome. Is Her Majesty not here? Fang Hao asked. Her Majesty the Queen is not here. Is there anything I can help you with, sir? The shop assistant asked respectfully. Fang Hao thought for a moment and continued. I saw a blueprint in the Sea Clan shop and want the Queen to help me buy it. The shop assistant nodded. Please wait a moment, sir. I'll ask Her Majesty the Queen. Fang Hao nodded and sat down with Dimitrika. Fang Hao from the Sea Clan wants to buy a blueprint of a sea-themed ship. The Hot Pot restaurant in Silverwing City is about to open, and Fang Hao is also considering whether to build a city by the sea to supply seafood. After all, relying solely on Fu Lei Lake is already quite a strain. Soon, the shop assistant returned and said respectfully, Sir, Her Majesty the Queen has agreed. Please come with me, and I will help you go to the sea creature shop to buy the items you need. Oh, thank you. Let's go then. Whatever happens, happens. The Lizard Folk Queen is actually quite good. East of Lizardman's shop is a shop called Firehammer. This is the official shop of the Dwarven Kingdom. In addition to selling various Dwarven forged weapons, it also arranges for Dwarven blacksmith masters to come here to undertake some blacksmithing tasks. However, dwarves have always had eccentric temperaments. Master forging isn't about whether you come or not, but whether the materials you provide satisfy the dwarves. Dissatisfaction, incompatibility, or dislike of appearance are all reasons for rejection. Perhaps this is why dwarves have always had so few friends. At this moment, in front of the Firehammer shop, it was already crowded with people of all races, packed in front of the door, constantly peering inside. Which dwarf is in charge today? There are so many people here. A human asked amidst the crowd. I heard he's a master forging expert named Brimstone, who has reached a bottleneck in his forging skills and needs rare materials to break through. So he came here to try his luck. Another person beside him replied. Do you think anyone will be chosen by the master today? It's hard to say. What high-end materials haven't they seen? It's basically impossible for a master to take a liking to them. Fang Hao came out of the sea creature shop and stood in the crowd, listening to the conversations around him. Listened to a little on the left and a little on the right. I understood what everyone was doing gathered here. It turned out that a very famous dwarven blacksmith had arrived. If the materials you bring are acceptable to the other party, then you can ask this master to forge equipment for you. If neither party is satisfied, there is no loss for either of them. This forging process is beneficial to both parties. Guests receive bespoke equipment, while masters can hone their skills through forging. It's true that Merchant Alliance headquarters has quite a few activities. There are always some kind of competition or promotional activities from various stores. Standing in the crowd, Fang Hao listened to everyone's words and thought of the demon Fang and hard hoof he had obtained. This must be a very rare material. Perhaps we could ask this dwarf master for a look. Who knows if he'll take a liking to us? We'll also know some specific uses by then. The surrounding area was in complete chaos. Soon, the shop door opened, and a dwarf with a red beard came out. Please be quiet, everyone. Master Brimstone has indeed come to the shop and will be selecting materials today to forge equipment for customers who meet his requirements. The dwarf shouted in a gruff voice, stroking his beard. The surroundings fell silent instantly, and many people showed joy on their faces. It seems they have prepared some materials on hand. The dwarf continued. However, before that, there is a preliminary selection process. As he spoke, 5 more dwarves with various beards came out of the shop and stood in front of the shop. These 5 are also renowned craftsmen among us dwarves. If the materials are of superior quality but still cannot meet the forging requirements of Master Brimstone, you can choose these 5 craftsmen to forge them, the dwarf said loudly. To put it simply, this is a custom equipment shop. Just like those custom clothing stores, they provide materials to customize equipment according to each person's requirements. The term master is simply a title for a highly skilled craftsman. Normally, a master craftsman is a level 4 craftsman, while Brimstone is a level 5 craftsman, with the title Grandmaster Craftsman. If one can break through the Brimstone barrier, the title will be Taoist. Although their strength is not equal, relatively speaking, they are equivalent to demigods among heroes. A demigod craftsman is even rarer. A master craftsman is fine too, but I'm not counting on a master craftsman. Exactly. Even if Master Brimstone makes it, I wouldn't dare wear it. I don't know how many people would want it, and I wouldn't even know how I died. You're right. The works of master craftsmen are just right for us. Being chosen by a master might not necessarily be a good thing. You're overthinking it. Your master wouldn't approve. The crowd below began to whisper among themselves. Even if we can't get the approval of any masters, these few renowned craftsmen are enough. Moreover, where would so many rare and precious materials come from? Purple equipment is nothing more than fine iron forged. Amidst the hushed discussions among the crowd, the dwarves had already brought tables to the entrance. 5 master craftsmen, dwarfs, sat at the table, ready to go. All right, everyone. Those of you who are confident in the materials you have can bring them out now. Only after being approved by a master craftsman can you meet Master Brimstone. The dwarf continued. I'll do it. A burly orc sat down at the table. He took out a palm-sized crystal from the backpack behind him and placed it on the table. It's a totem stone. This orc's identity is extraordinary. It is indeed a rare material. It could fetch an astronomical price on the market. Fang Hao was quite far away, but from the others, he learned that it was called totem stone and was a crystal formed from the condensation of orc totems. When used on equipment, it can be forged to grant abilities such as protection and blessings. While the orcs were verifying the materials, people at the other tables also began to go up and take out their materials. The main component of equipment forging is metal, iron, fine iron. What was taken out were materials that could be imbued with special powers, rather than completely replacing the main materials. Fang Hao glanced at Dimitrika, then squeezed through the crowd. Sit down at a table. Show me what materials you have, the dwarf opposite him said. This dwarf is clearly not very old, because his beard wasn't long, and he didn't have many wrinkles on his face. Fang Hao took out 2 materials, Demon Fang and Hard Hoof, and placed them on the table. This, the dwarf frowned slightly. The dwarf carefully picked it up and began to examine it using various tools. The others behind them also began to be drawn to this area. They began to whisper among themselves. What is this thing? It's a huge cow hoof. This can be used as material? Did you just pick it up somewhere and try to fool people? No. It must be material from some kind of ferocious magical beast. The crowd whispered among themselves, but came to no avail. Demons existed in a time far too long ago. Even though there are long-lived races here who have seen them, they probably wouldn't think of it as something demonic. The dwarf watched for a while before putting down his tools. The others immediately fell silent, waiting for the dwarf's reply. What kind of material is this? I can confirm that these 2 can indeed be used as forging materials, but I have never seen them before, the dwarf said. Wow. The people behind were even more surprised. The dwarf master craftsman has never seen it. Where did you find the materials? Immediately, people started discussing it and speculating about the background of this young man. Fang Hao smiled and said, before answering, I'd like to ask if these 2 materials can meet Master Brimstone's requirements. The dwarf paused for a moment, then asked, how much of this material are there? There are over 100 of these teeth and dozens of hooves. I can let you in, but whether you can meet the master's requirements still needs to be selected by the master himself. Thank you. These are materials from a demon, Fang Hao said in a low voice. The dwarf frowned, but said nothing. He simply nodded and let him in. After the first round of screening, they also selected quite a few rare and precious materials. However, most of them only reached the level of ordinary craftsmen, and only a few became master craftsmen, not to mention meeting the master later. Fang Hao entered the shop, but Dimitrika did not follow. At Merchant Alliance Outpost, Fang Hao is fine on his own, but when the 2 of them stand together, their goals become clearer. Besides Fang Hao, another elf with a tall, straight figure, blonde hair, and pointed ears also successfully entered the shop. The elf wore a long, fitted blue robe. He was adorned with various doujin ornaments, making him shine like an elf prince. Fang Hao carefully examined the Adam's apple and chest before realizing that the other person was male. This outfit is really too androgynous. The elf opposite him also looked Fang Hao up and down with curious eyes. A transmigrators can come in. This surprised him as well. The 2 exchanged a glance, smiled and nodded at each other as a greeting. At this moment, a dwarf entered the room and said softly, Please follow me, you 2. We arrived at a room in the backyard. I also met the Master Brimstone, who looked somewhat old, but was remarkably strong. It makes someone who is not tall to begin with appear to have exaggeratedly widened horizontally. Before the two could speak, Brimstone spoke first. All right, take out all your belongings. If you need anything confidential, you can tell me. Fang Hao immediately took out the demon Fang and hard hoof. The elf beside him also took out two items, a branch that is still green and a piece of shiny metal. Eternal Branch Fluorescent Water Mastery, just by the name, you can tell they're not ordinary materials. Master Brimstone first examined the elf's materials, then nodded and asked, "What do you want to do?" "A staff that can meet the needs of melee combat." Brimstone nodded, indicating that there was no problem. Then he came to Fang Hao, picked up two items and looked at them, his brows furrowing slightly. After examining it carefully, he said, "It's from the devil." "Ah, you're a wise person." "Yes," Fang Hao confirmed. "While the materials from demons are rare, they won't be of much help to me. The master craftsman in the shop can make them," Master Brimstone continued. "The meaning is simple. The materials are rare, but the grade is not high either. He doesn't need to forge the equipment himself. The master craftsman can forge the equipment he wants." "Master, what do you think of this?" Fang Hao took out the demon essence and handed it to the dwarf. The dwarf took it and examined it carefully. "It contains demonic power, but it's not for forging," the master continued. "People outside say this master has an eccentric temper, but it seems he's actually quite easy to talk to." "All right, you can go out now. Go find someone outside to help you with the forging," the master said, and continued walking towards the elf. It seems they intend to choose each other. Fang Hao thought to himself that the opportunity to meet a master was rare, so he said, "Master, I have another type of material." Brimstone, who was about to leave, stopped in his tracks, a hint of displeasure in his eyes. "What? Take it out. The materials are somewhat special and need to be kept confidential," Fang Hao said. Brimstone frowned, grabbed a thick black cloth, and covered the entire table. Such a simple way to keep secrets. Fang Hao, hidden under the black cloth, took out something and handed it to the dwarf. When his hand touched the material, his pupils suddenly contracted, a hint of surprise flashing across his face, followed by wariness. Then he carefully explored it again. "You're mine, so bold." "It's all right," Fang Hao replied with a smile. "How many?" the master continued to ask. "There are many specifications and different sizes, several thousand pieces," Fang Hao replied calmly. Brimstone's eyes showed increasing surprise. He had underestimated the young man before him. Then, she began to guess the identity of the young human. He pulled his hand out of the black cloth and said to the elf beside him, "Your stuff is not bad either. If you trust me, I will introduce you to another Grandmaster craftsman to help you forge it." The elf was also somewhat surprised. The materials they produced were clearly of top-notch quality. Yet, he was still outdone by his opponent. "But here, we still need to abide by the other party's rules." He nodded and said, "All right, then I'll trouble Master Brimstone." Brimstone nodded, summoned a dwarf, and led the elf away. Back in the room, Brimstone continued, "You're the person the dragons are looking for, right? You've got some nerve. Aren't you afraid I'll tell the dragons?" The master is a man of principle. "I believe he wouldn't do something that harms others without benefiting himself," Fang Hao said casually. "Haha, interesting. I like bold young people. So, tell me, what do you want to do?" "Armor."